Hey man, congratulations. You made it this far. I'm not talking about you made it this far to this video. Although if you're watching this video, you're taking a step in the right direction, my friend. I'm talking about you made it this far in life. And that's a lot to celebrate. I mean, between you and me, it takes a lot for a guy to get respect and credibility these days, doesn't it? There's a lot that we got to do. There's a big to-do list for being a man. If you're feeling me on that, then stick around for a couple of minutes. And I want to unpack a few little insights and maybe a few little hacks to feeling more successful as a man in the 21st century. My name is Andy Torr. I'm the co-founder of Authentic Networker, which is an international business networking community. We serve more than 30,000 members in about 100 cities, doing business networking events and coaching on relationship marketing skills, networking skills. And over the last few years, I've had thousands of conversations with business owners, a lot of guys who are finding themselves in midlife having ticked a lot of boxes and wondering what's next. If you're not sure what I mean, then stick with me here. The conversations usually go a little bit like this. Hey man, I've done everything that was expected of me. I've got the education, I've got the job or the business, I found a partner to settle down with, maybe I had kids, I ticked all the boxes that were expected of me in society, and here I am now careening into midlife, and I don't feel happy, although I've got everything that I'm supposed to have on paper. And there's a lot of guys who feel like that. So if you're feeling that way, I want you to know that you're not alone. We get into what I call protector and provider mode, which is getting real busy, taking care of everybody around us, and not taking particularly good care of ourselves. And that's okay for the short term, but it's not sustainable in the long haul. And here's the trap. All the boxes that we have to tick, get an education, get a job, settle down, start a family, get a house, get a car, all of those boxes that are expected of us, well, first of all, they start really early in life, don't they? I've got a friend who's an English teacher in high school. She gave her students an assignment to write a description of their lives 20 years from now. These kids were like 13, 14. And almost without exception, all of the little girls wrote these very creative stories, full of adventure, full of travel, full of these very creative lives. And almost without exception, all the little boys wrote, I'm going to have this house, I'm going to have this car, I'm going to have this wife, I'm going to have this job. And so this stuff gets drilled into us at a very, very, very early age. It's like the to-do list for being a guy. It gets handed to us when we're kids. Go get an education, go get a job, go get a house, go get a car, go get a partner, maybe have kids if you want to. And all of that stuff taps out by the time we're like 35, 40 maybe. We've ticked all the boxes. And we find ourselves in midlife, and the two words that I hear from men more frequently than any other is, what's next? What's next? I've done all of the stuff. I've got all of the things, and I'm still not happy. What's in it for me? I need something more. Because the next box that we have to tick, my friend, is retire. 65, maybe 55 if you're really organized. So there's like a 30-year gap in between boxes on the man's to-do list in life. Is it any wonder that so many of us find ourselves in midlife going like, what's next? I don't have anything more that is expected of me. So do I just maintain the stuff that I have? And this is where things get a little dangerous, because in midlife, there's a list of to-don'ts. The to-don't list for men. Don't lose your job. Don't screw up your marriage. Don't be an absentee father for your kids because you're working too much. Don't let the house fall down around you. Don't rat out of money. Don't get a gambling habit. I don't know. Don't screw up in some way. And even more dangerous than that, like, don't let them see you sweat. It's a huge amount of responsibility to grow all of this stuff, to raise a family, to protect and provide for them, and then to not let things go wrong. There's a lot of stuff that can happen out there. And I see people struggling through difficult marriages. I see people losing jobs. I mean, 2020 has been a disaster for so many people. So how do you cope when you've got all this stuff that you're trying to protect and all these people that you're trying to provide for, and stuff happens? And maybe you don't have the support network. Maybe you don't have the community. Maybe you don't have the guidance to be able to handle it with dignity when things do go wrong, because naturally things do go wrong. And so this is where a lot of guys get into crisis. They feel really alone. I don't know whether that's something that you've experienced. That's certainly something I've experienced. I got into protector and provider mode. I lost my identity. I was so busy providing for my family, I forgot who I was. And I let go of all of the things that I did just for myself, so that I could be a better father, so that I could be a better husband, so that I could be a better worker. And the results were not good, my friend. I was miserable. And I went and looked around at all of those coaching programs, the guys who promised to make you a warrior and the guys who promised to get you your balls back. And none of that stuff really resonated with me. I don't think we need to deal with such a narrow definition of masculinity. But I did figure it out. And when I figured it out, I realized, well, this is a pretty simple series of steps to be able to put myself back at the center of my life. And it wasn't easy. There was a lot that I had to unpack, but the steps were simple. So I want to share a little hack with you that might get you started on that road. If you're feeling like things are looking really good on paper in your life, but you need something more for yourself, maybe you're feeling a little bit stuck. And so the thing I want you to work on is the to-be list, not the to-do list, not the to-don't list, but the to-be list. And the reason why we're working on the to-be list is because a lot of us forget about setting goals for ourselves. The goal is just to maintain, or the goal is just to grow a little bit. But when you set a goal, here's the thing. It's not about getting the goal. It's about becoming the guy who has the goal. So you want to get yourself a fancy car? Awesome, go for it. But it's not about getting the car. It's about becoming the guy who has the car. And the way to do that is to create a mental composite, a vision of yourself, the person that you are becoming. How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he dress? What are his values? Who does he hang out with? What is his life like? And to get to know that guy as intimately as you possibly can in your head, and then start acting like him. So here's what I'm going to invite you to do. I want you to think back about 10 years to the guy you were 10 years ago, when maybe you were doing a little bit more for yourself. Maybe you had some great hobbies or some pastimes or some things that you really enjoyed doing for yourself that maybe you've since given up because you're in protector and provider mode. I want you to grab one of those. For me, it was yoga. Yoga is foundational to my well-being. It's got me in the best shape of my life, physically, mentally, spiritually. And it's a non-negotiable practice in my life. And I gave it up for 10 years. And I reached back 10 years ago and or to the person I was 10 years ago, grabbed it and I brought it forward. So grab something that resonates with you. I don't know, did you play guitar? Did you have a sport that you played a lot? Were you a member of the chess club? Something that filled you up with joy and that gave you some purpose. Bring it forward and copy and paste it into the vision of yourself that you have for maybe a few months from now. And start working on becoming that guy. Not the guy you are today, but the guy who has that thing again in the future. Write it out, man. Get a piece of paper and just start writing about who is that person. and start creating him in your mind. And I guarantee you, because I've done this with a lot of men, once you start creating a vision of the person that you are becoming, and you've got a burning desire to become that man, then things are going to start shifting in your day-to-day reality. You're going to start paying attention to different things. You're going to start showing up differently, because goals are not for getting, they're for growing. And we're always growing. Growing is non-negotiable. The question is, are you paying attention, and are you in control of the person that you're becoming? Or are you stuck in protector and provider mode and living on autopilot? Now, I work with a lot of guys who are in the latter. They come to me, they are stuck in autopilot. They don't know how to get out of the weeds of midlife. They don't know how to become that person that they know they can become in their heads, but they can't unlock it. And so when I'm working with my clients, we go through my process for helping them get unstuck. It's really simple. It's really fun. And it starts with a vision. It starts with a goal. It starts with a question of, well, who am I becoming? So there's a link down below this video. And when you click it, you can send me a DM. And I would love to know if you got some value out of watching this video. If you maybe got a few takeaways, send me a DM. Let me know, what is that thing that you copy pasted from that previous version of yourself to the future version of yourself? Who is that man that you want to become? Let me know who that is. Let me know what that is. I'd love to start a conversation with you. There's nothing to buy here. I would just like to know that this video helps you a little bit and maybe got you a little bit unstuck. So hit me up in my DMs and let's chat. Let's see how we can support each other, because men in midlife need more community. So if there's anything that I can do to help you, then let me know. Click the button below and I'll see you in my DMs. Bye for now.